Have you ever felt the weight of financial stress crushing your dreams and straining your family relationships? What if I told you that an ancient book, thousands of years old, holds the key to unlocking financial freedom in today's complex economy? Can you imagine a life where money is a tool for blessing rather than a source of constant worry? These aren't just rhetorical questions. They're at the heart of a transformative journey we're about to embark on together. A journey that will challenge your perceptions, reshape your financial habits, and potentially change the course of your family's future. Hello, dear friends, and welcome to our channel. Today, we're diving deep into a topic that touches every aspect of our lives: household economics. But this isn't just another financial advice video. We're going to explore how the timeless wisdom of the Bible can revolutionize your approach to money management in the 21st century. Before we dive into this topic, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Your participation helps us spread this transformative message to more people. Let's get started. We're about to unpack a real-life case study that will show you, step by step, how one family went from financial chaos to abundance using biblical principles. Their story isn't just inspiring, it's a roadmap that you can follow to transform your own financial situation. Are you ready to discover how faith and finance can work hand in hand to create a life of prosperity and purpose? Are you prepared to challenge your assumptions about money and learn how to become a faithful steward of the resources God has entrusted to you? Then let's begin this life-changing journey together. In today's video, we're going to analyze a case study on household economics that goes far beyond budgeting tips and coupon clipping. We'll explore how a family, probably much like yours, managed to optimize their domestic finances to save money, achieve their goals, and most importantly, align their financial practices with God's principles. Before we dive into the details of our case study, it's crucial to understand why household economics is so important from a biblical perspective. The way we manage our money isn't just about dollars and cents. It's a reflection of our values, our priorities, and our faith. Proverbs 21:5 tells us, "The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty." This verse encapsulates the essence of what we're about to explore. It's about being intentional, thoughtful, and diligent in our financial planning and decision-making. It's about understanding that our financial choices have spiritual implications. But why does God care about our finances? The answer is simple yet profound. Because God cares about every aspect of our lives, and He knows that our approach to money can either draw us closer to Him or push us away. In Matthew 6:24, Jesus says, "No one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money." This verse isn't suggesting that money itself is evil, but rather that our attitude towards it can become a spiritual battleground. With this biblical foundation in mind, let's meet the family at the center of our case study. For the sake of privacy, we won't use their real names, but I assure you, their story is very real and relatable. This is the story of the Johnson family: John, Sarah, and their two children, Emily, 14, and Michael, 10. The Johnsons were, in many ways, a typical middle-class American family. John worked as a high school teacher, while Sarah had a part-time job as a dental hygienist. They lived in a modest 3-bedroom house in the suburbs, drove 2 cars, and like many families, they were struggling to make ends meet each month. Their financial situation was this: despite both parents working, they found themselves living paycheck to paycheck. Their combined annual income was around $85,000, which should have been enough to live comfortably in their area. However, their expenses seemed to be constantly outpacing their earnings. Let's break down their monthly finances. Income: John's take-home pay, $3,200. Sarah's take-home pay, $1,800. Total monthly income, $5,000. Expenses: mortgage, $1,500. Car payments, $600. Groceries, $800. Utilities, $350. Insurance, home, auto, life, $400. Credit card payments, $500. Student loan payments, $400. Cell phone bills, $150. Internet and cable, $120. Eating out, $300. Miscellaneous expenses, $500. Total monthly expenses, $5,620. As you can see, their expenses exceeded their income by $620 each month. They were slowly but surely sinking deeper into debt, using credit cards to bridge the gap, and constantly feeling the stress of financial instability. But the Johnsons' struggles weren't just financial. They felt a deep disconnect between their faith and their finances. They attended church regularly and tried to live according to biblical principles in many areas of their lives. They tithed faithfully, giving $500 to their church each month, even though it often meant putting that amount on a credit card. However, when it came to their day-to-day financial decisions, they struggled to see how their beliefs could practically impact their choices. They knew that God called them to be good stewards of their resources, but what did that look like in practice when you're drowning in bills and debt? This disconnect led to tension in their marriage. John and Sarah often argued about money, disagreeing on spending priorities and feeling guilty about their inability to save for their children's future, or give more generously to causes they cared about. Their children, Emily and Michael, were also affected by the family's financial stress. They sensed the tension between their parents and often felt guilty about asking for things, even necessities like new shoes for school or money for field trips. The Johnsons knew something needed to change, but they felt stuck in a cycle of reactionary financial decisions, always putting out fires rather than planning for the future. They prayed for guidance, but often felt like their prayers for financial breakthrough went unanswered. This is where our case study begins. With a family at a crossroads, feeling the weight of financial stress and seeking a way forward. They knew something needed to change, but they weren't sure where to start or how to align their financial practices with their faith. As we delve deeper into their journey, we'll see how they applied biblical principles to transform their household economics. Their story is not just about numbers and budgets, it's about aligning their financial practices with their faith and values, and in the process, transforming their family dynamics and their relationship with God. Let's begin by looking at the first step they took, a comprehensive review of their expenses. This aligns perfectly with the wisdom found in Proverbs 27:23, which advises, "Know well the condition of your flocks and give attention to your herds." In modern terms, this means having a clear understanding of your financial situation. The Johnsons decided to dedicate an entire Saturday to this process. They gathered all their financial documents, bank statements, credit card bills, loan papers, everything, and spread them out on the dining room table. It was overwhelming at first, seeing the entirety of their financial life laid bare before them. They started by categorizing every expense from the past 3 months. This process was eye-opening and at times uncomfortable. They were shocked to discover just how much they were spending on non-essentials. Eating out, subscription services they barely used, impulse purchases on Amazon. These were all draining their resources without adding real value to their lives. Here's a breakdown of what they discovered. Food expenses were much higher than they realized. Between groceries and eating out, they were spending over $1,100 per month on food alone. They had multiple subscription services they rarely used, including streaming services, gym memberships, and magazine subscriptions, totaling about $150 per month. Their credit card statements revealed a pattern of impulse purchases, especially online shopping, averaging about $300 per month. And they were paying high interest rates on their credit card debt, with some cards charging over 20% APR. Their utility bills were higher than average for their area, suggesting inefficiencies in their energy usage. They had no emergency fund, which meant any unexpected expense went straight onto a credit card. This process of review wasn't easy. It required honesty and vulnerability. John and Sarah had to confront some hard truths about their spending habits and the consequences of their financial decisions. But it was also eye-opening and empowering. For the first time, they had a clear picture of where their money was going, and this knowledge was the first step towards making meaningful changes. As they reviewed their expenses, they were reminded of the words of Jesus in Luke 14:28-30. "For which of you desiring to build a tower does not first sit down and count the cost, whether he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid a foundation and is not able to finish, all who see it begin to mock him, saying, 'This man began to build and was not able to finish.'" They realized that they had been trying to build their financial tower, without first counting the cost, and it was time to change that approach. Next, armed with this new understanding of their financial situation, the Johnsons implemented a budgeting system based on biblical principles. They looked to Proverbs 21:20, which states, "Precious treasure and oil are in a wise man's dwelling, but a foolish man devours it." This verse emphasizes the importance of saving and living within one's means. They decided to use the zero-based budgeting method, where every dollar of income is assigned a specific purpose. Here's how they divided their income. Tithes and offerings, $500, 10% of their income. Savings, $500, 10% of their income. Necessary expenses, $3,500, 70% of their income. Discretionary spending, $500, 10% of their income. By prioritizing their giving to God and their savings, they were putting into practice the principle of first fruits found in Proverbs 3:9-10. Honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruits of all your produce. Then your barns will be filled with plenty, and your vats will be bursting with wine. This shift in mindset was crucial. Instead of seeing their income as solely for consumption, they began to view it as a tool for honoring God, securing their future, and meeting their needs, in that order. To make this new budget work, they needed to make some significant changes. They committed to cooking more meals at home and limiting eating out to once a month as a family treat. This alone would save them about $200 per month. They reviewed all their subscriptions and cut those they weren't using regularly, saving another $100 per month. They implemented a 24-hour rule for any non-essential purchase over $50. Before buying, they would wait 24 hours and pray about whether the purchase was necessary. This helped curb impulse spending. They looked for ways to reduce their utility bills by being more energy efficient, such as using LED bulbs, adjusting their thermostat, and fixing leaky faucets. They committed to putting any unexpected income, gifts, tax refunds, etc., towards paying off their debt rather than spending it. As they implemented these changes, they encountered challenges. Old habits die hard, and there were moments of temptation to fall back into previous spending patterns. But they found strength in Scripture. Philippians 4:19 reminded them, "And my God will supply every need of yours, according to his riches and glory in Christ Jesus." This verse gave them confidence that as they honored God with their finances, he would provide for their needs. They also found practical ways to reinforce their new habits. They started having weekly money dates where they would review their budget together, celebrate their progress, and address any challenges. They involved their children in age-appropriate ways, teaching them about budgeting and the value of delayed gratification. One of the most significant changes they made was in their approach to debt. Proverbs 22:7 warns, "The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is the slave of the lender." With this in mind, they made a commitment to avoid taking on any new debt and to aggressively pay down their existing debts. They started with their credit card debt, which had the highest interest rates. Here's the strategy they used, and then they listed all their debts from highest interest rate to lowest. They committed to making minimum payments on all debts, but putting any extra money towards the highest interest debt first, the debt avalanche method. They cut up their credit cards and committed to using cash or debit for purchases. This tangible act of cutting up the credit cards was symbolic of their commitment to financial freedom. They called their credit card companies and negotiated lower interest rates, explaining their commitment to paying off their debt. They looked for ways to increase their income temporarily to speed up debt repayment. John took on some tutoring work, and Sarah picked up extra shifts at the dental office. For their car loans and mortgage, they looked for ways to make extra payments when possible. They understood that every extra dollar paid towards the principal would save them money in interest over the long term. As they implemented these strategies, they began to see results. Within the first 3 months, they had paid off one of their smaller credit card balances completely. They had built up a small emergency fund of $1,000, which gave them peace of mind and reduced their stress levels significantly. They no longer lived in fear of unexpected expenses derailing their budget. They had reduced their monthly expenses by $400, which they were able to put towards debt repayment and savings. They felt more in control of their finances and more aligned with their values. But the impact went beyond just numbers on a spreadsheet. Their new approach to finances brought them closer as a family. They had regular money talks, involving their children in age-appropriate ways. This opened up conversations about values, priorities, and the role of faith in all aspects of life, including finances. They taught their children the biblical principle found in Luke 16:10. One who is faithful in a very little is also faithful in much, and one who is dishonest in a very little is also dishonest in much. This helped instill in their children the importance of being trustworthy with money, no matter the amount. Emily and Michael started receiving a small allowance, which they were encouraged to divide into 3 categories: giving, saving, and spending. This practical exercise helped them understand the principles their parents were applying on a larger scale. The parents modeled contentment, showing their children that happiness doesn't come from possessions, but from a right relationship with God and wise stewardship of what He provides. They put into practice the words of 1 Timothy 6:8, "But godliness with contentment is great gain, for we brought nothing into the world, and we cannot take anything out of the world. But if we have food and clothing, with these we will be content." As the months went by, their financial situation began to improve dramatically. By the end of the first year, they had paid off all their credit card debt, totaling $15,000. Their emergency fund had grown to $5,000. They had started contributing to their retirement accounts again, something they had neglected for years. They were able to cash flow some home repairs instead of putting them on credit. They even had enough to take a modest family vacation, paid for in cash. But perhaps the most significant change was in their mindset. They no longer saw money as a source of stress or a goal in itself. Instead, they viewed it as a tool to honor God, serve others, and provide for their family's needs. This shift in perspective brought a sense of freedom and purpose to their financial decisions. They began to look for ways to be generous, not just with their money, but with their time and talents as well. They remembered the words of Acts 20:35, "It is more blessed to give than to receive," and found joy in helping others in their community. For example, they started volunteering at a local food bank as a family once a month. They set aside a portion of their budget for spontaneous giving, to help friends or neighbors in need, or to support causes they cared about. They became more involved in their church's financial ministry, sharing their story and mentoring other couples who were struggling with their finances. Their journey wasn't without setbacks. There were unexpected expenses and moments of doubt, but they learned to trust in God's provision and to be patient with the process. They held on to the promise in Jeremiah 29:11. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." One particularly challenging moment came when John's car broke down unexpectedly. In the past, this would have sent them into a panic and probably resulted in a large credit card charge. Instead, they were able to use their emergency fund to cover the repairs. This experience reinforced the importance of their new financial habits and the peace that comes from being prepared. As we near the end of our case study, let's recap the key principles the Johnson family applied. They took an honest look at their financial situation, aligning with the biblical principle of self-examination and stewardship. Proverbs 27:23. They prioritized giving to God, putting into practice the concept of first fruits. Proverbs 3:9-10. They created a budget based on biblical wisdom, distinguishing between needs and wants. Proverbs 21:20. They committed to getting out of debt, recognizing the biblical warnings about the dangers of borrowing. Proverbs 22:7. They cultivated contentment and taught their children about wise financial management. 1 Timothy 6:6-8. They looked for opportunities to be generous, understanding that all they had came from God. Acts 20:35. They involved their entire family in the process, fostering open communication about money. Deuteronomy 6:7. They trusted in God's provision while taking practical steps to improve their situation. Philippians 4:19. These principles, rooted in Scripture, transformed not just their finances, but their entire approach to life. They found that by aligning their household economics with biblical wisdom, they experienced not just financial freedom, but a deeper sense of purpose and peace. Now, you might be thinking, this sounds great, but can it really work for me? The answer is a resounding yes. The principles the Johnson family applied are universal and timeless. They work not because of some financial magic, but because they align with God's design for how we should manage the resources He entrusts to us. Now, let's break down how you can start applying these principles in your own life. Start with prayer. Before you even look at your bank statements or create a budget, spend time in prayer. Ask God for wisdom, guidance, and the strength to make necessary changes. James 1:5 promises, "If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given him." Make financial stewardship a matter of regular prayer in your life. Take an honest inventory. Like the Johnsons, set aside time to review your entire financial situation. This means gathering all your financial documents, bank statements, credit card bills, loan papers, investment accounts, everything. Create a clear picture of your income, expenses, debts, and assets. This process might be uncomfortable, but it's crucial for moving forward. Create a God-centered budget. Use the principle of first fruits to prioritize giving in your budget. Then, allocate funds for savings, necessary expenses, and discretionary spending. Remember, a budget isn't about restriction. It's about intention. It's a way to ensure your money aligns with your values and priorities. Develop a debt repayment plan. If you have debt, especially high-interest debt like credit cards, make a plan to pay it off. Consider using the debt avalanche method, focusing on highest interest debt first, or the debt snowball method, paying off smallest debts first for psychological wins. Whichever method you choose, commit to avoiding new debt. Build an emergency fund. Start with a goal of $1,000, then work towards 3-6 months of expenses. This fund will help you avoid going into debt when unexpected expenses arise. Practice contentment. In a world that constantly tells us we need more, contentment is a radical act. Reflect on Hebrews 13:5. Keep your life free from love of money, and be content with what you have, for He has said, "I will never leave you nor forsake you." Find joy in what God has already provided rather than always seeking more. Teach your children. If you have children, involve them in age-appropriate ways in your financial journey. Teach them about budgeting, saving, giving, and making wise financial decisions. This is not just about money. It's about discipleship and passing on biblical values. Look for ways to increase your income. While cutting expenses is important, increasing your income can accelerate your financial goals. Pray about opportunities to use your skills and talents to earn extra money. Remember, all our abilities come from God and can be used for His glory. Be generous. As your financial situation improves, look for ways to bless others. This might mean increasing your giving to your church, supporting missionaries, or helping those in need in your community. Generosity is a powerful antidote to materialism and a way to store up treasures in heaven. Matthew 6:20. Seek accountability. Consider finding a financial accountability partner or joining a financial management group at your church. Having support can make a big difference in sticking to your goals and staying encouraged during challenging times. Remember, the goal isn't just to have more money. The goal is to be a faithful steward of what God has given you, to provide for your family, to be generous to others, and to find contentment in Christ rather than in material possessions. As we wrap up this case study, I want to leave you with a challenge. Take some time this week to prayerfully consider your own household economics. Are your financial practices aligned with biblical principles? Are there areas where you need to make changes? Here are some reflection questions to consider. How does your current approach to money align with biblical principles? What is one financial habit you need to change to become a better steward? How can you involve your family more in financial decisions and teaching biblical money principles? In what ways might God be calling you to be more generous? What financial goals do you need to set that would honor God and serve your family? Remember the words of Matthew 6:21. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Our approach to money reflects our values and priorities. By aligning our finances with biblical wisdom, we have the opportunity to grow in our faith and to be a powerful witness to others. Let's take a moment to address some common questions and challenges you might face as you begin this journey. Q. I'm overwhelmed by my financial situation. Where do I even start? A. Start with prayer and taking a full inventory of your finances. Remember, you don't have to figure it all out at once. Take it one step at a time, and don't be afraid to seek help from a financial advisor or a trusted, financially wise friend from your church. Q. My spouse and I disagree about money. How can we get on the same page? A. Communication is key. Set aside regular time to discuss your finances calmly and prayerfully. Consider going through a financial management course together, like Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University. Remember Amos 3:3. Do two walk together unless they have agreed to meet? Strive for unity in your financial goals and approach. Q. I don't make enough money to save or give. What should I do? A. Start small. Even setting aside a few dollars each week for savings or giving can begin to shift your mindset. Look for ways to reduce expenses, even temporarily, to free up some money. And pray for God to open doors for increased income. Remember the widow's mite, Luke 21:1-4. It's not about the amount, but the heart behind it. Q. I've tried budgeting before and always fail. How can I stick to it this time? A. First, give yourself grace. Changing financial habits takes time. Make your budget realistic and build in some flexibility. Use tools like budgeting apps to help you stay on track. Most importantly, keep your why in mind. You're doing this to honor God and serve your family better. That motivation can help you push through when it gets tough. Q. How do I balance saving for the future with being generous now? A. This is about wisdom and balance. Proverbs 21:20 encourages saving, while many other passages call us to generosity. Pray for wisdom in striking this balance. Remember, even small acts of generosity can make a big impact. As your financial situation improves, you can increase both your saving and your giving. Now let's look ahead to what you can expect as you begin to apply these biblical financial principles. Initial challenges. At first, you might find it difficult to stick to your new budget or resist old spending habits. This is normal. Persevere through this phase, leaning on God's strength and the support of your accountability partners. Small wins. You'll start to see small victories, perhaps paying off a small debt or building up your first $100 in savings. Celebrate these wins. They're signs of progress and can motivate you to keep going. Mindset shift. Over time, you'll notice a change in how you think about money. You'll start seeing it less as a source of stress and more as a tool for honoring God and blessing others. Family impact. As you involve your family in this journey, you'll likely see positive changes in your relationships. Open conversations about money can lead to greater unity and shared purpose. Increased peace. As you become more financially stable and aligned with biblical principles, you'll likely experience a greater sense of peace and reduced financial stress. Opportunities for generosity. As your financial situation improves, you'll find more opportunities to be generous. This can be incredibly fulfilling and a powerful witness to others. Spiritual growth. Through this process, you'll likely find your faith deepening as you learn to trust God more fully with your finances. In our next video, we'll be sharing a powerful testimony about faith in times of financial crisis. It's an inspiring story that I know will encourage and motivate you on your own financial journey. You won't want to miss it. If you found value in today's video, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Your support helps us continue to create content that explores the intersection of faith and practical living. And now I'd love to hear from you. What strategies do you use to save money at home? What biblical principles have you found helpful in managing your finances? Share your tips and experiences in the comments below. Your insights could be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Thank you for joining me for this exploration of household economics through the lens of biblical wisdom. Remember, With God's guidance and the application of timeless principles, you can transform your financial situation and experience the freedom and peace that comes from wise stewardship. Until next time, may God bless you and guide you in all your financial decisions. Remember, you are called to be faithful with little and with much. Every financial choice is an opportunity to honor God and to grow in your faith. Let's continue this journey together, supporting and encouraging one another as we seek to manage our household economics in a way that glorifies God and blesses our families. As we close, let's reflect on the words of Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will make straight your paths. This applies to our finances as much as to any other area of our lives. Trust God, seek His wisdom, and watch as He guides you towards financial peace and prosperity. Thank you for being part of our community. Your presence and engagement mean the world to us. Together, we're exploring how to live out our faith in every aspect of life, including our finances. Remember, every small step you take towards aligning your finances with biblical principles is a step towards a more abundant and purposeful life. May God's peace and wisdom be with you as you steward the resources He's entrusted to you. Until next time, keep seeking His guidance in all your financial decisions. God bless you all.